and gentlemen, we are still here at the Bread Shed in Manchester for Badgerfest 2019, and I have the great pleasure of being joined by two of Mortishead. How are we, gentlemen? Are we all right? We good?
Yeah, really good, man. Yeah, really good. Yeah, we just got off stage. Great set.
Yeah, I was watching from the sound desk. There's absolutely look amazing, fantastic, great work, guys, great work. You've just come off stage. Just going to go into a quick fire question. Have you guys got any particular pre-gig ritual that you will do?
Pace around nervously and try and suppress anxiety by funneling it into a stage persona, and then compress it to the point where, and then step out and stare at people.
Nice. You, sir, have you got anything that you do before?
Similar stuff. I mean, yeah, don't just pace, get in the zone, get pumped, get angry, and not really trying to talk to people too much. You know, yeah, try and just get in the mindset. Because if you go on, you're in a really fucking good mood. I feel like you're kind of missing the point of. Personally, what I'm trying to achieve,
Mortishead is not a happy friends with you band. It's a personification of a rage, a just barely tapped rage. And so if someone's coming to you and says, all right there, guy, how's it going? Yeah, have a good night. Yeah, really looking forward to it. And you go, oh, thanks very much. You kind of really, that's like all your momentum off.
We like mental. That's our middle name. It's all good stuff. But yeah, you guys seem to enjoy yourself up there. I do know it's a lot of work. There's a lot of pressure. You go up there. There's so much going on at this at that given time. Has there ever been an instant where it's just completely hilariously funny on any performance that you guys have done?
Maybe not performance, but so in the practice room when we throw demos around, they're usually ridiculously named.
Yeah.
And then the transition between something being a demo and something that's just being workshopped, being thrown about, and then to it making the cut and making the set. It will get a name change, but it'll always be referred to by its first demo cut. When I first came on board with Mortishead, we met up in the studio. So how's it going? Right, this is one of the tracks we're working with. It's called. It's named after Susan Boyle's famous PR faux pas. It's called Anal Bum Party. Working title, fair. But then it remained that long after we'd started playing it, long after we started touring it, after we'd recorded it. I can't even remember the name of the song now. We've dropped it from our repertoire, but it was always for us. Anytime we played it, it was always, yeah, we're going to play it. Yeah.
Wicked. So going off with the names, do you actually keep the names on set lists as a bit of a reminder, or is it just its proper name as it should be?
They tend to be the set list. Once it's on the set, that's it. The joke name's forgotten. But apart from Shitstorm, that was the demo. We thought that's pretty fucking appropriate for what we're trying to convey. So yeah, Shitstorm's still the demo.
There seems to be a lot of shitstorms going on at the moment. Obviously, we're not going to talk about politics because that is the majorest shitstorm that seems to be dominating everything at the moment, which is pissing off a lot of people. But
because for us, that's always been a massive motivator. And like I said, I don't want to go into any specifics, but certainly when I first started with the band, when we started writing, we started looking at sort of content-wise, what happens when power goes unchecked, when people start going too far, when they start brushing a little bit totalitarian.
yeah.
And the longer we've gone on, the more I've been writing lyrics on the harder it's been, because it's impossible to satire our current climate. We, as a nation, our government is sort of drifted so far right. And the things that we were talking about in the beginning with, that we were sort of gently nudging toward, gently hinting at, that sort of little, what things might be like, very quickly got overtaken by the reality of what we're looking at, which makes it, for a format like ours, that takes from the first concept to a recorded working demo to the first outing of that can take the better part of a year. And so it's not really best suited to sort of keep up with a lot of the things that were inspiring us to write. So it's 2018, 2019 Britain has been a difficult time for vaguely politically minded artists.
Yeah, it's certainly a strange set of circumstances what's going on in this country at the moment, and it's. But on the plus side of that, we're going to have the revival of Spitting Image to further take the piss out of them as well, which I find is quite funny. Really, it's something that's been missing for quite some time, and I'm glad it's come back. And hopefully they'll get to see them for what they really are, of the parody of it as it was back in the day, which will be quite amusing to see. That's it. Talking of TV programs, is there anything that you guys have watched recently, whether it be Amazon, whether it be Netflix or anything else like that, that you guys have been stuck into at all?
I mean, it's a fairly, in a way, cliche considering what our band's about, but I've always thought Mr. Robot was a really good sort of a completely over-dramatic and over-the-top look at the political climate. I mean, yeah, it's got some fun ideas and, you know, to be taken with salt, and, you know, but yeah, I enjoyed that. It's a very overly dramatic sort of take on the modern climate. I enjoyed that quite a lot.
Cool, good stuff.
I could absolutely tell you that on so many levels, some of the finest television that's been produced in the last 10 years is unironically Adventure Time. On the surface, it's a kids' cartoon.
Yeah.
And it's great.
On the surface, but when you scratch that,
it's kind of relaxing. It's chill. It's not. But then it's actually, as it goes on, it's you can use it as a lens. It's a lens to view the human condition. It looks at anxiety and loneliness and fear and everything in between. It examines the whole scope of human emotion whilst pretending to be an entertaining little colourful kids show. It's Pemberton Ward. Seriously, some of the best television in the last 10 years, and I will stand by that.
Pretty honest there. It's pretty cool. I fully concur, sir. Fully concur. It's a lot of TV and stuff. Well, you know, at the surface of it, it looks all sweet and innocent, but it has got its undertones. I don't know if you guys, it's out there, but with Rugrats, with the actual truth behind everything that was all about, and you read it and like, oh my God, how dark is that? And it's just very, very, very.
Well,
it certainly makes you open your eyes a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, art doesn't exist in a vacuum. Whether intentional or not, and a lot of the time completely unintentional. The artist's impressions and circumstances have a massive influence on the work they do. It's easy to spot on things like all throughout the 80s we had a lot of sort of Cold War tensions, like we had the Terminator, Red Dawn, and all these things that are really scared of the enemy. In the early 2000s, Danny Boyle did 28 Days Later, sort of reinventing the zombie genre, and instead of being a metaphor for slow-moving death, they were talking about infection, which was a current scare at the time. Whether or not that was whether or not he intended it or not. And likewise, every piece of experience that the artist has under their belt comes out in their work, whether they intend it or not. And sometimes it's really fascinating, a bit Freudian, what they may or may not have meant to end up saying.
Pretty cool. See, there's a lot of things. I don't know if you guys have seen Amazon series The Boys.
Same as The Boys.
The Boys, yeah. Because it touched on about earlier on with too much power and everything else, and it's all about the superheroes that's meant there to save, but under the surface of it, it's behind the scenes, and they're complete wankers, all of them. And it's just like, whoa, hang on a fucking minute, this ain't like a normal superhero thing. It's quite fucked up. But it also brings within the human condition of the fact that you see these people as gods, but they're not really that, and the real people are the real people. It's very fucked up. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was a very surprise.
A good anti-hero is great, especially when you're expecting them to be just a straight-laced hero. As a narrative tool for them to sort of like subvert it and then find that you've been cheering for the bad guy all along is fantastic. Judge Dredd was a fantastic example. I always viewed it as like it's been a sort of satire of fascism and police brutality, but it's kind of portrayed is kind of through as our protagonist, as the thin blue line between law and order, but anything but once you start actually looking at the sort of facts, no matter how they're presented.
Talking about heroes, so I got my heroes going into the musical world. What are your heroes? What are your influences?
I mean, for me, if you're looking at like bass and soul instrument, probably Jaco Pastorius. It's like super legendary jazz bassist from like the 70s and 80s, and like, I don't know, I think he just revolutionised the whole way you can view like electric bass guitar. He's a phenomenal player, like really unconventional, kind of one of the original fretless bass players, well, electric fretless. Yeah, he's just unbelievably beautiful. You know, anybody says, oh, bass isn't a lead instrument, go listen to Portrait of Tracy by Jaco Pastorius, and it will like fucking blow your socks off, man. It's unreal, like, yeah, seriously moving bit of music, and yeah, excellent stuff.
I don't know about heroes so much, but there are certain musicians that I'll always come back to, and for different reasons and different moods. But I guess I've had call it something of an obsession over the last couple of years at least with John Frusciante of the Chili Peppers, formerly of the Chili Peppers. For years I've had guitarist friends who are like, oh, he's just one of the best guitarists there's ever been. Oh, it's so fantastic. And I never saw it. But then after a while, I don't know, maybe it's after I clipped 30, and then it started coming into place for me. So like the levels of emotion, like the sort of really niche harmonies and the really obscure, the sort of bits and pieces that you go for, not the obvious. And I found it absolutely both joyous if you're in a good mood, and therapeutic's the wrong words, but when things aren't so good, when you're down, it's I don't know, helps me feel feelings again.
Yeah, so I find myself, music is a fantastic healer. Whether you're feeling sad, you put on something to uplift. If you're feeling energized, you're more inclined to put on something else, and everything else. I'm a big Motorhead fan, and that just pretty much covers the broad spectrum. I mean, people just remember. Everyone, you mention Motorhead to somebody, they'll always say Ace of Spades. Yeah, but there's a lot. God bless him.
Sorry, it wasn't Jack.
They're a great example of. It just fucking really surprises me how many good albums they actually have, because it is pretty much all the same, but so much of it is actually really good. Which is surprised so many bands that just recycle the same shit. It just, verse 3, 4 usually, good, and then after that it dies a pretty horrific death. But yeah, I think Motorhead actually really do have some pretty solid records, even like fucking 20 years into their career, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like for my first introduction with them was actually No Sleep Till Hammersmith. Yeah. And then from the others, and then later on there's a lot of blues, there's a lot of this, there's a lot of that. It's like, whoa, hang on a minute. And so obviously as I got older, I mean, I'm well into my 40s now. Yeah. And then you listen back into it, and then you listen, and then you pick up bits that you didn't notice before, because you're older to understand just that little bit.
One of my favourite musical experiences, if you can relate, if you ever had an album that you used to really like, but then for whatever reason you just put it down and didn't pick it up again, maybe 10, 12 years pass, and then you suddenly get, I'll listen to that. And then it comes flooding back with such like perfect clarity that you can remember every melody, every hook, and every damn lyric. I've had a couple of such instances recently. I don't know if Pitch Shifter came back from the dead. They were touring, I think they were touring Deviant. When I was teenager, I guess, pre-college, Pitch Shifter sort of made it quite big. So who's these guys? So the guitarist for The Prodigy, doing a sort of punk techno act, Didn't think they were fantastic at the time. Listened to their albums back to back a few times, and then maybe last year last year they came back and did a tour. So yeah, I remember those guys. What were they like? Clicked it on, then suddenly, all at once, the entire map opened up in front, and I could remember crystal clear everything that they'd done, and I had a newfound appreciation for it. All that latent information that had just been stored there, untapped for 10 years or so. It was quite incredible.
Cool, good stuff. And going on with other artists and everything else, because you guys have played Bloodstock a good couple of years, haven't you? You were there this year.
They're in 18 on the second stage,
yeah.
I believe. Yeah. Cool. That was fucking awesome, a wicked experience, man.
Yeah, I saw some of the videos of like fuck with all the flames and stuff. Whatever.
We were gonna do it. We had to go all in. You know, we couldn't fucking no half measures if we're doing Sophie.
Is that something that that was drafted in purely for Bloodstock, or is it something that you have or will incorporate in other shows?
I think when the opportunity is given and the timing is right, it's pretty hard to say no to.
Most venues don't let us bring fire, to be fair.
Brilliant stuff.
I don't want to say no. I'm not getting it.
Cool. For the future of you guys, future gigs and stuff, is there anything? What's on the cards and the old touring thing?
At the moment, we're really putting the finishing touches, like demos for our debut album. That's kind of where we are at the moment. We're not focusing on gigging. That's not our priority right now. I think so. I had to realise that actually we just needed to sit down and go.
In the Mortishead world, it is writing season.
Exactly, mate. Yeah, this is like the gig to finish off our year. Yeah.
I sometimes feel we've got the highest success to effort ratio of any band I know. We've been a band for about 4 years, and we're throwing around a sort of 35-40 minute set. We have material on release that we've not been playing, but we've been riding off of 2 EPs for such a long time. We think it really is time to get that album out, man. Because if nothing else, just spice it up a little bit, do something a bit more.
Fucking good tunes on there that really need to see the light of day, you know. Yeah, absolutely.
We did have a lot of material going back a little over a year ago, and what I think is a moment of clarity, we ended up culling so much of it and saying, no, not good enough, threw it all in the bin in the hopes of starting fresh. It's my fault for being too picky, but I like to think at the end of it, what we will release will have been worth the wait.
Cool. We've dissected a lot of that older material that we didn't think was good enough. Instead of just being like, no, being like, well, why isn't it good enough? And then literally, in some cases, it was like changing a few verses, choruses around, shit like that, adding in like one new riff, and suddenly it just sort of fit together, you know.
So it puts a new dimension to it and gives it that extra fire and everything else.
Absolutely.
And I fully understand, because there's no point just writing a song for the sake of it, and then let's say for argument's sake, I do believe this. You guys are absolutely amazing so far at the moment, and I can only see it going further up. Now, let's see 20 years down the line, and you've wrote a song just on the fly. Though you're like, we'll just stick it out there. You don't really want to be doing that, do you? It's something that you don't really want to play, but you play because it's a bit popular and this. And it's got to be that song. It's got to be the bollocks.
Yeah.
So so definitely the more time to write and the more time to put into action, I think that the better the song will be, and then there's something that you'll want to play rather than playing. Well, I wrote this. It feel differently now, but it was, let's say, it was a hit, but we have to play it. I don't really like playing it, so you don't want to be falling into that. Which is all pretty cool stuff. So you're in the writing process. I'm guessing you haven't got a time frame for it.
Not necessarily, but we are pressurizing ourselves. We are like religiously. No, but we're definitely pushing ourselves far more than we pretty much ever have done. I mean, religiously, at least once a week, we're all in the same room, like just splitting off into groups. Like me and Luke have been writing quite a lot of lyrics. Like we're doing that, like fucking Jake and Ash, and it's like slamming out riffs. You know what I mean? yeah, I think we're working in like a much the best way we've ever worked all together. I think it's the pressure has helped that we've applied ourselves. You know?
Clicked for us over the last I don't know, maybe 6 months. We found a rhythm that's really worked for us.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything in the dynamic of the group that's actually changed, or whether it just finally, after some shuffling, we found, however it was, that and so once a week we meet at the studio, and it's just we've been able to churn out a lot of material that we're happy with, which has been a bit scarce for us. I mean, we've had an unproductive couple of years in terms of writing. I'm starting to think that that's sort of directly related to where you are in your life. Because I'm currently working a job which doesn't stress me out too much. It gives me some time. Whereas previously, I was working here, there, everywhere, all over the place, and a lot of freelance work, which takes up so much of your time and concentration. There was a point where I felt I was so unproductive to the group that I was just dragging everyone back, and I had a word with the guys and said, look, we've got to go forward. As a project, this has got to work. Currently, I can see that I am bringing the least to the table. I'm, at this point, more or less dead weight, and if it doesn't all come together, then I will bow out so the band can carry on and get someone with enthusiasm and talent who can really drive it forwards. But lucky for me, I guess, got out of a rut and then found a nice creative flow, and then started bouncing off Dan, and then the whole dynamic of the group suddenly picked up. We've had a really great few months of really productive work, once a week, just throwing the demos out. So next year, fingers crossed, hopefully, if we get something release on the table, then it will have been worth the wait.
Fantastic, great stuff. I'll be definitely looking forward to that. I'm sure everybody else will be as well. Fucking absolutely blinding performance there, absolutely outstanding, and I can't wait to see what's next in the next chapter of Mortishead. Thank you very much.
I think we can either.
All good stuff. Okay, thank you very much, guys. I am Matt Mount for UG Media. This is Mortishead. This is Badgerfest 2019.